I've recently had 3 different couples get approved for their marriage petitions. 2 of them got their green cards issued and 1 is going through the next step in the process. They all have to go through different processes based on their circumstances, and so to help understand how these processes work for different situations, I want to tell you a little bit about all 3 of them and how one was approved through USCIS and 1 green card was approved by an immigration judge. All right, so for this first couple, the husband applied for his wife. The husband was a US citizen, his wife's from another country, and she's been living in the United States a really long time, like 20 years. So she didn't have a lawful entry, meaning she didn't enter on a visa or with parole. She had entered the United States without any permission or visa, so that's called unlawful entry. So the entire time she's been here, she's lived her life. She eventually met him, they've been married, and they had to go through that initial process of proving to the US government with a filing called an I-130 with USCIS to show that they had a valid, legitimate marriage. Well, they got that approved. Their interview went well, they're having a baby, everything's great, but now she's going to have to go through another process with a waiver in order to go back to her home country to consular process and get a visa to come back into the United States. So that's going to be the next step for them. But the great thing is she got the I-130 approved and they can move on towards that consular processing that will allow her to get her green card. Now I want to tell you about these 2 other couples who were approved recently for their green cards because they went through 2 different processes because of the facts in their cases, the situation that they were dealing with in each case. In this one, the couple filed with USCIS just like the first one I told you about, but the second or the third couple, we're talking about 3 different couples, but just for these green cards that were just approved, this involved the immigration court. So I'm going to explain a little bit about the differences in how each immigrant spouse got their green card in each of these types of situations. So this husband and wife successfully got their green card approved, and this was all just recently, back-to-back approvals, so that was very exciting. But this husband, who is also a US citizen, applied for his wife who entered lawfully on a visa. She came here to study in the United States on an F1 student visa, so she had a lawful entry into the United States, and she stayed in her student visa program, so she was still in status. And when they applied, they filed both the I-130, which is the petition to prove they have a legitimate marriage, and they filed the I-485. This is her adjustment of status application, so she can adjust from a student visa to a green card. And so that's what they did. Now, when someone does not have lawful entry, like this first couple I talked about, they cannot apply both for a green card with the I-130. They can't do both. But if you have a lawful entry, then both can be filed at the same time, and that's what this couple did. And we got them prepared for their interview and everything went well. They got approved and she just got her green card in the mail within a couple weeks after their marriage interview. So that was really an exciting time for them. And because they've been married for more than 2 years, she can get a 10-year green card instead of a 2-year green card. That's another video. But she entered lawfully, so that was the main reason she was able to get both of these filed and approved. Now, over here, the wife was the US citizen, her husband was an immigrant, and unfortunately, at a traffic stop, he was detained and he was placed in ICE custody. And the reason was, they already had an I-130 approved, but that alone is not a status in the United States. It is just proof that you have a valid, legitimate marriage with a US citizen. They were in the process of getting their evidence and records, medical exam, and everything ready for his adjustment of status application when he got stopped by local police and detained because he had no status. Fortunately, he'd already completed his medical exam. We had a lot of evidence. We were able to get all of that quickly filed with the immigration court, because what local police did was turned him over to ICE. He was transported to an ICE facility in Louisiana, and he had to stay there for quite a while, at least a month, before we were able to go before the judge, present all the evidence showing that he was eligible to adjust status to become a green card holder, a lawful permanent resident, no other criminal history, and it was approved by the immigration judge. His immigration court case was dismissed, so he was no longer in removal proceedings. He was released from ICE detention, and he's reunited with his wife and has a green card available to him now. Now, these situations all differ because of a few important things. The U.S. citizen spouse, did they have a lawful entry like this one or here, or no lawful entry? The other thing that was really important was whether they were in court or just dealing with USCIS. Sometimes a person might already be in the United States in immigration court removal proceedings, and then they meet someone, they get married to U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident, and they want to file to get their green card. And so there's different types of evidence and hurdles that you have to go through to get through the entire process in order to apply and be approved for a green card, whether it's with USCIS or an immigration judge. But I'm very pleased with all of these cases, and we're going to be moving on to the next step with consular processing with this case. But hopefully this answers some questions about what you can anticipate if you're a U.S. citizen, married to an immigrant, and you're ready to start this process. If you need an experienced immigration attorney, you can call my office at the number below. I'm Larissa Davis, and let me know if you have any questions or ideas for videos you would like me to put out about other immigration processes.